Okay, welcome to True North Insight, and my name is Jill Davey. Tonight we're sharing a practice, guidance, and kind of an imagery, metaphor that is a helpful way to, I hope, helpful for you. I found it interesting and helpful way to practice with mindfulness of mind. Mindfulness of mind is what's called the third foundation of mindfulness. There's 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first foundation is the body, and it is really given the most practices and weight and reference and teachings in meditation is mindfulness of body, which includes breathing and all the sense doors, the impermanence of the body, etc. Lots of practices in there. The second foundation of mindfulness is something sometimes called feeling tone, or the Pali word for it is Vedna. And it's a particular experience of how we connect with the world through our sense doors, and how all those contacts are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and how they lead us into further mind states. And then the third foundation, as I was mentioning, is mindfulness of mind, which we're going to be practicing with tonight in a way without like really getting caught in more mind states. Hopefully, may it be so. The fourth foundation of mindfulness is called Mindfulness of Dhammas, and it contains many groupings of understandings, practices of understanding how the world is. Mindfulness of things. Dhamma means things. And so I probably shouldn't get too far into it, but it's kind of like the teachings. It has lots of groups and lists of teachings. The 4 Noble Truths, the 5 Hindrances, the 7 Factors of Awakening, stuff like that. So interestingly, mindfulness of mind is something a lot of people want to practice with when they start meditation, because we often experience and notice that maybe we often feel like a puppet on a string, like marionette puppet, that the mind is pushing and pulling us and torturing us and tormenting us, and also showing us beautiful things. But lots of times our state of mind is, we notice, is like really busy and restless, and people often say they want to turn it off, quiet the mind, calm the mind, get a break from the mind, all these kind of things. And usually as teachers, we don't start there, even though people wish we would, because mindfulness of body is the first foundation, and we really need to just connect with that source of present moment awareness and stability. Yeah, so this practice tonight is a way to observe, have a little bit of space from the activity of the mind, all of the infinite mind states, absolutely infinite mind states that come and go and feel very tumultuous sometimes. And this gives us a little bit of perspective, and to hopefully not feel so pushed and pulled by these states. Here's a little paragraph reflection from a teacher named Ajahn Chah, of a great meditation master and teacher. And he's talking talking about mindfulness of mind, experiencing the mind, and what he calls a taste of freedom. Yes, may it be so. We'll take it, even a taste. We want it all, but the taste would be refreshing and remind us that it's possible. So, from Ajahn Chah, within itself, he said, the mind is already peaceful. That the mind is not peaceful these days is because it follows moods. It becomes agitated because moods deceive it. I'm going to change one of the words he uses here because it's not nice. So the untrained mind is unknowing, is how I would rephrase what he has said here. The untrained mind is unknowing. He used the word stupid, but probably not, because this is something translated into English. So I'm just going to change that. The untrained mind is unknowing. Sense impressions come and trick it into unhappiness, suffering, gladness, and sorrow. But the mind's true nature is none of these things. Gladness or sadness is not the mind, but only a mood coming to deceive us. The untrained mind gets lost and follows these things. It forgets itself. Then we think that it is we who are upset or at ease or whatever. But really, this mind of ours is already unmoving and peaceful, really peaceful. So we must train the mind to know these sense impressions and not get lost in them. Just this is the aim of all this difficult practice we put ourselves through. Yeah, so this a taste of freedom to he's assuring us, and I trust him because he's a meditation master and is much more experienced than I, and I believe him when he says, this mind of ours is already unmoving and peaceful, really peaceful. I don't know about you, but that's not my usual daily experience of unmoving and peaceful, tranquil mind. I definitely get lost in the turbulence and the waves and the tossing and turning and the wanting, not wanting, the sorrow, the gladness. And I do also forget and lose the awareness at times that these are mind states coming and going. Sometimes remembering happens, sometimes perspective, release, wise attention happens, but that's a training. And it's certainly not a constant state nearly for me. So words of inspiration there from a master. Yeah, so the metaphor that Frank Ostaseski shares in this wonderful book, The 5 Invitations, Discovering What Death Can Teach Us About Living Fully. I'll write this in the chat. If you're joining on the Zoom, I'll put that in after so you can have his name. And if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be linked down below to his site. And Frank shares that he says, I often turn to the metaphor of the ocean to describe the layers of the mind. He's also a scuba diver, so or was, I don't know if he still is, and so he has that direct experience of he doesn't tend, he said he doesn't tend to keep up with the the group, that are going out with a guide, because off they go, trying to scoot around and find things. And he likes to just sink down to the bottom of the ocean, or sink down as far as he can, and just sit there and watch the ocean life swimming around him, which I think sounds very cool way to do it. Even though scuba diving is a bit terrifying for me. But that version of it sounds nice. So the metaphor here is about the surface of the water. He describes this beautiful experience he had of, as I described, sinking down. It was actually at night, I think, this practice, and into that darkness. He did have a scuba buddy with him, and sitting there in that calm and dark and quiet and great stillness and peace. And then by the time they came up, because you have to come up very slowly and all that transition, by the time they came up, there's this wild storm happening on the surface of the water, which would be very terrifying. But torrential rains and massive ocean swells, thunder, and wild winds, etc. And it took them a while to find the boat, and they did obviously make it back safely. I'm saying obviously because he's still alive. Yeah, so the turbulence, the surface of the water is maybe for you sometimes, or a lot of the time, or often enough that we would like to be able to have a different experience with it, is the turbulence of our daily life thoughts, or the busyness, the stress, the worry, the to-do list, the remorse, the regret, the planning, scurrying around, the scurrying. And in that state comes with it the belief that we are responsible for much of what is happening. That we're trying hard to be in control of a lot of the happenings of this level of our day and mind state. And then he describes this second layer or level of sinking down just below that surface turbulence. And under that level, you start to feel what we might call the worldly, well, it's called the worldly winds, but the worldly waves that are really affecting all of us. These undercurrents of the more universal experiences of our human nature, our instinctual drives of wanting and safety and fear and fight or flight, all these adrenal response that's part of our human conditioning. Underneath here is also our ancestral conditioning, all of our lineages and familial histories, culture, etc. And seeing how these deeper levels of conditioning also affect and form our beliefs, and they affect and form our habits of mind and our habits of responding to things. And they also can distort our beliefs. We kind of inherit a lot of cultural beliefs and familial beliefs and stuff like that. That's this conditioning that's gone on for centuries. And then this last level here, sorry, I'm just going to mute. There, okay, great. Yeah, the last level of this practice or metaphor that Frank is sharing of ocean awareness of mind states is, of course, settling right down to the bottom. In the stillness, the quiet, the resting, like just resting there and seeing all these different states coming and going, arising and passing, flowing through, without sweeping us away. So we're not pulled into the currents of that turbulence or into our habitual response, but just seeing, oh, there's that arising or moving through. This kind of natural state of rest that Ajahn Chah referred to in that opening quote, that the masters are saying, and I don't mean male when I say masters, but all the wise teachers are saying that this is our natural state. We all have this capacity. It's yeah. So that state of resting in open awareness and letting the currents move by. Doesn't that sound inviting? Does to me. So let's check it out. So yeah. So to do this practice, you want the body to be comfortable and upright, alert and relaxed. So take some time here to get whatever supports you need for your body. You might like to dim your lighting, see if you need a pillow or a shawl. I'm just gonna, I probably shouldn't do this on a YouTube video, but I'm just gonna step off camera here and grab a shawl. All right. So you could do this practice laying down if your body needs that support. If you're laying down, we are trying to practice a awakening practice. You might like to lift up your forearm or bend your knees and have your feet on the couch or floor so that your knees will fall apart or together to kind of wake you up to begin again if you feel sleepy. All right. And it's helpful to put away distractions. It's difficult, of course, practicing on these devices that have all these infinite windows. So you might need to move yourself away from the mouse or turn away from the screen if you've been on a screen a lot today. As you come into your posture that feels supportive, restful, relaxing, and upright, or at least awakening in some way, then find a posture, pardon me, for your eyes that is also restful. So we're practicing with some mindfulness of mind tonight, and turning our attention inward in this way. It might be helpful to close the eyes, or if you like practicing with eyes open, to just have the eyes down with a slight opening, just bringing in a bit of light, so that we're not entertained by sights and visual distractions. And if you're here on the Zoom call, just assurance that you are muted, so feel free to take any sighing breaths that your body needs to release any tension from your day or any of your these kind of just arriving breaths. Sometimes a few longer or deeper breaths can be helpful. And as Frank is offering in this metaphor, we can feel even just in this arriving time, in this settling time, is really a good time to be paying attention. Because right now we may be really experiencing, depending on what you're coming from or what your day has been, this surface layer of mind awareness, the turbulence at the surface of the ocean water. So at this time, we may just be noticing that in the sensations of the body. You might feel areas of tension or contraction. So we often have habit places of tension. It may be the jaw, the eyes, forehead, the shoulders or belly, the hands. I'm just seeing if there's tension here from on this surface. And this is something we want to just be mindful of, that we are affected by the winds that are blowing all the time, the winds of daily life, stress, busyness, worry. So we don't need to get rid of anything right now. We're just noticing it, just knowing it, awareness with it. Feeling how the effects of our day have conditioned and affected the body right now. And there may be at times some sense of what the mental agitation is, but we don't need to figure that out. You don't need to know what the content of the thoughts are or the state of mind or the emotional storms. So just in this first layer of awareness we're practicing with tonight, we might notice some of the content of situations we're worried about, people we're worried about, plans that we have, things that have happened. Or there may just be a general feeling of turbulence. So I'm going to be quiet now for about 3 minutes, and we'll all practice together. Just being here on the surface of this ocean water and feeling the effect or noticing some of the states of turbulence that may be here for us. And in this surface turbulence of our daily lives, we might also be experiencing a sense of responsibility or control of how we're always trying to manage things and get things to be a certain way. Now we're going to begin settling a little more deeply. Just letting that surface agitation, emotional storms, have a little bit of distance, a little bit of space from them. If the image of the water is not a peaceful one for you, you can use some other image of the sky or just awareness of calming the mind. So below the surface of the ocean now, we begin to feel, connect with the more universal currents. These deeper underwater currents that affect all of us. Part of our human nature and human conditioning that we have these instincts. And bodies with nervous system responses. And we don't need to figure anything out here or list or name anything, but just more of a felt experience of understanding, connecting with there's deeper forces affecting the mind, ancestral conditioning, cultural conditioning, racial conditioning. The conditions of the family that we were birthed into. And all these things have shape and affect our behaviors, our habits, and our beliefs. And again, you don't need to figure anything out, but just in this space of allowing this deeper kind of knowing, connections may arise of a sense that, oh, this reactivity that showed up on the surface of the mind maybe was affected by these deeper conditions that weren't seen. In this place of awareness of our universal and deeper human conditioning, this is a place where we can really connect to compassion. Understanding that we are all subject to conditions beyond our control. Compassion and empathy, acceptance for ourselves and for others. You might feel a heart sense, a felt sense of our interconnectedness here. And as you feel ready, either using this ocean metaphor or something else that resonates for you, and dropping further still beneath the surface of the mind, where we all have this natural, innate, vast, serene calm. Finding this natural place of rest, whether that's at the bottom of the sea, in the center of your heart, with your body here and now. Within itself, the mind is already peaceful, already unmoving and peaceful, really peaceful. And in this calm awareness, the currents can be seen. The movements of the mind and heart continue to affect and move through and around us, but don't have to sweep us away. This natural place of rest is not separate from the conditions of life, but is free of reactivity. is characterized by allowing. Open awareness. In these periods of quiet, you might notice that the habit conditioning of our body, our culture, our minds pulls us back up towards some turbulence. This is also natural. We just want to know when that's happened, if we've gotten caught in some agitation or habit. And then allow yourself to settle back or sink or open into that wider awareness again. Observing the movements of the mind like fish darting through the coral. Just like when one is scuba diving, it's important to return to the surface very slowly. And so in a few moments, I will ring the meditation bell 3 times and allow yourself to just take your time and hear the fullness of one bell and then the other, just gradually transitioning from your practice until you hear the end of that third bell. So as we return from that practice, seeing if we can maintain or bring some of that inner calm awareness with us. Taking your time to transition from your practice in the way that's meaningful for you. And if you've joined the practice on YouTube, check the links down below for fundraiser that's coming up for True North Insight, a weekend retreat with Don Maruccio, Pascal Leclerc, and Joseph Goldstein, the last weekend of May, the 28th. That is the Friday night, and then the Saturday, Sunday, 29th and 30th. And also I'll put a link to this book I was referencing of the 5 invitations. And there's also a link there to support me if you are able. Thank you.